Hey everyone, and welcome back to another week of What's for Dinner, where I share with you some of the meals that I've made for my family throughout the week. I make these videos in hopes that it will give you some new dinner ideas and inspiration. Today I am back with 3 more easy, delicious, and budget-friendly crockpot meals. You're not going to want to miss it, so keep on watching. The first recipe I have for you this week are Italian pork chops. So to start off, I'm simply chopping up a green bell pepper, and then I'm going to also chop up an onion and mince some garlic. Now here I have some sirloin chops, and I'm just seasoning them on each side with some salt and pepper. Now if you want, you could go ahead and sear them for a few minutes on each side in a skillet, but I was in a hurry on this day, so I just added them as is, and they still turned out great. Okay, so let's go ahead and transfer this into the slow cooker. So I always like to add a little bit of the sauce on the bottom before adding in the meat. So that's what I'm doing right now. This is a can of diced tomatoes. So I'm just adding a little bit on the bottom. Okay, that looks good. And now I'm gonna add in my pork chops. Now I'm adding in a small can of tomato paste, and then I'm gonna go ahead and add in the rest of my diced tomatoes. Adding in my veggies and some minced garlic. Here I'm adding 1 teaspoon of Worcester sauce, however how you say it, I always say it wrong. I'm also adding 1 tablespoon of Italian seasoning. And a 1/4 teaspoon of red pepper flakes. But this is completely optional. If you guys don't like the red pepper flakes, then you can just leave it out. Gonna add in a little bit of salt and pepper. Now I'm going to mix it up just a little bit on the top, and then I'm going to cover it, and I'm gonna cook it on low for 7 hours. So I have about 20 minutes left on the timer, so I'm just gonna make some couscous to go along with it. I love this because it's super quick and so easy to make. I'm just adding 2 cups of chicken broth into a saucepan. I'm gonna bring it to a boil, and then I'm going to add in 2 cups of couscous. So I'm just basically following the directions on the packaging, but instead of using water, I'm using the chicken broth just to give it a little bit more flavor. I'm gonna stir this real quick, then I just put the lid on it, I remove it from the heat, and I let it sit for 5 minutes, and that's it. Very easy, very quick. Okay, so dinner is ready. I'm just going to now go in there with a fork just to see how tender the meat is. Can you guys see this? It's completely falling apart, and this smells amazing. So now I'm just going to scoop some of this out and serve it right over my couscous. This was really good. It kind of reminds me of green pepper steak a little bit. Have you guys ever had that? I find it has a similar taste. It's very good, very flavorful. Of course, you could also have this over rice, and I'm sure it would also work very well with pasta. So yeah, I love how this one turned out, and this is what we had for dinner tonight. The next recipe I have for you this week is a beef and potato au gratin. This recipe is extremely easy to make, it's budget friendly and very filling. So I'm going to start off by cutting up my potatoes into slices. You need about 3 pounds of russet potatoes, and you want them to be about 1/4 inch thick. Now there is a little bit of prepping involved with this recipe, such as peeling and cutting your potatoes, chopping your onion, and you also have to cook your ground beef before adding it inside your slow cooker. So if you're short on time, you can just prep everything the night before. For the potatoes, what I like to do is I'll wash and rinse them, and then I'll place them in a bowl of water, just like you see here. And then all you do is you cover it with a lid and you place it in the fridge overnight. The water is going to prevent your potatoes from browning. Okay, so now I'm cutting up my onion. You need about 1 cup of chopped or sliced onions. And again, this could be prepped the night before. Chopped onions can actually be stored in the fridge in an airtight container for up to 10 days. So you could even prep this a couple days ahead of time if you would like. If you notice that you use onions often in recipes, you could go ahead and chop a few onions and just leave it in your fridge. And like I said, it's good for up to 10 days. I'm then going to brown my ground beef. I'm just going to season it with some salt and pepper, and I'm going to add a little bit of Montreal steak spice just to give it a little bit more flavor. Now in a small bowl, I'm mixing together 1 teaspoon of paprika, 1/2 teaspoon of garlic powder, 1 teaspoon of parsley, 1 teaspoon of salt, and 1/4 teaspoon of pepper. And I'm going to mix this well. Going to grab my slow cooker, and I'm going to add 1/2 of my potatoes. And then I'm going to add 1/2 of the onions. I'm going to add 1/2 of the seasonings and 1/2 of the meat. Going to sprinkle some cheddar cheese on top. And then I'm simply going to repeat the process. Now that I'm done adding my layers, I'm going to add in a half a cup of chicken broth. I'm going to cover this and cook it on high for 4 hours, or you can cook it on low for 8 hours. Alright, so it's been 4 hours, so let's see what this looks like. So the first thing I did was go in with a fork just to make sure that the potatoes were cooked, and they were perfectly done. Of course, I had to take a bite to try it out, and it was really good. My mom was actually at my house that day, and she also really liked it. It's very flavorful, and like I said, very filling. It's also budget friendly and extremely easy to make. So the last recipe I'll be sharing is this balsamic and maple chicken Thai dinner. This one's great because at the end of the day, you have your entire full meal right inside your slow cooker. No need to cook anything else. So for the veggies, I'm going to be using these French green beans. I've never had these before, but these were the only ones left in the store, and I didn't want to use frozen ones. So as you can see, they are much thinner than regular green beans, so I'm hoping that they won't get too mushy in the slow cooker. Then I'm also going to add in some carrots. I have 3 here, but I might just use 2. I'm going to see how much it makes as I cut them up. And then I'm also going to add in some red potatoes. So these have already been washed, so now I'm just going to chop them up, and I'm also going to be quickly chopping up an onion. So as you can see, I'm just cutting these into big chunks, and I'm going to do the same with my potatoes. Now I'm going to grab a bowl and mix in 2 tablespoons of oil. I'm using avocado oil, but you can use whichever oil you prefer. I'm also adding 1/4 cup of balsamic vinegar. Here I have some pure maple syrup, and I'm going to add 1/3 of a cup. Going to give this a quick stir, and then I'm adding in 1/3 of a cup of brown sugar, as well as 1 tablespoon of minced garlic. Now the recipe calls for 1 tablespoon of fresh thyme and fresh oregano. I only have dry, so instead of 1 tablespoon, I'm adding in 1 teaspoon of each. So 1 teaspoon of thyme and 1 teaspoon of oregano. And then finally, I'm going to add some salt and pepper to taste. I'm going to give this a good stir, and then I'm going to start adding everything inside my slow cooker. So here I have my slow cooker, and I'm just going to add a little bit of the sauce on the bottom, not too much, just enough to coat it, and then I'm going to add in my veggies. Okay, so my veggies are in, so now I'm going to add some chicken thighs right on top. The recipe actually calls for boneless, but I couldn't find any at my grocery store, so I'm using bone-in. Then I'm just going to go ahead and add the rest of my sauce right on top. I'm going to cover it and cook this on low for 8 hours. Okay, so dinner is done, and this is what it looks like. This was really good. I love the flavor that the maple syrup gives. It gives just the right amount of sweetness. I also love that by the end of the day, you have an entire meal ready to go. I would, however, use regular green beans next time because I did find these to be a little overcooked. They still tasted really good, but a little too overcooked for my taste. But all in all, this was really good, and let me know in the comments down below what your favorite meal was this week. Alright you guys, so that is it for this video. If you guys enjoyed, don't forget to hit that red subscribe button if you're not subscribed already. And also if you hit the notification bell, you will be notified when I post a new video. I hope you guys are all doing well, and as always, I will see you again in my next one. Bye guys.